This video is for mile marker 3, practice 1, right triangles, and we're going to look at coding some of the questions on the mile marker today so they may be answered more easily. So to talk about the mile marker in general, there are 3 types of problems, and even the trigonometry types of problems will be broken down into when we're finding a side and when we're finding an angle. So we're going to have trigonometry, special right triangles, and the Pythagorean theorem on the mile marker. Some of the problems can be solved multiple ways. For example, any of the special right triangle problems could also be solved using trigonometry. And the Pythagorean theorem problems could be solved using trigonometry, but it would take you many more steps. So we're going to want to recognize those. What I recommend is that when you get the mile marker, before you even start it, or as you go problem by problem, I recommend that you write next to each problem whether you're going to be using a trig function, so I usually just write the word trig, an inverse trig function, whether it's a special right triangle, or if it's a problem where you'll need the Pythagorean theorem. Let's start with trigonometry, and we'll start with just our regular trig functions, sine, cosine, and tangent. So if you're wondering how to know when you need to use a trig function, what you're looking for is a problem where you're given a side and an angle, and you're finding a missing side. So you'll see a lot of these on the mile marker, and problems 4, 5, 8, and 10 on this first practice are all problems that we'll use a trig function for. So if I look at number 4, I can see I'm given the 56-degree angle. When I say you're given an angle, I don't mean the 90-degree one because these are all right triangles, so you're given a different angle. In addition to that, we're given one of the 3 sides, and we're asked to find a missing side. So this will be a trig function problem. In the specific video tutorials for each problem, that's what I'll go into detail about whether you're using sine, cosine, or tangent, but just know right now that these problems will all be trig problems. You'll also see some trigonometry problems on the mile marker where you'll use what we call an inverse trig function. So remember, inverse functions are like inverse sine, inverse cosine, inverse tangent, and we use those when we're finding a missing angle. So again, what you should be looking for is that you're given 2 sides, but you're asked to find a missing angle. There are also some special right triangle problems on the mile marker. So if you're wanting to solve some problems using special right triangles, what you're really looking for is, I would just look at the angles and look for either a 30-degree, a 60-degree, or a 45-degree angle. You'll always be asked to find a missing side with these, and you'll always be given one of the other sides. So in problem number 1, I can tell that this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle because I'm given the 45-degree angle, this angle is 90, therefore the other angle must also be 45. When you watch the specific tutorial for question 1, I'll go into more detail about how to use that pattern and how to solve that. Number 3 is a 30, 60, 90 triangle, so if this is 90 degrees and we're told that this top angle is 60, we know this bottom right angle must be 30 because we know the sum of these 3 angles must equal 180. Now the last type of problems we're going to see on this mile marker are problems where you're given 2 sides, you're finding the third side, and the easiest way to do that is the Pythagorean theorem. You can use trig, but it'll actually create a much longer multi-step problem. So if you look at these, in one you're given the hypotenuse and finding a leg, in the other you're given both legs and finding the hypotenuse. And so in those individual tutorials for problems 2 and 7, I'll go into more detail about how to do each of those problems because they're just so slightly different.